The Niners happen to have a ton of players on 1-year deals or guys who will be free agents next year. It doesn't seem like that's a coincidence considering so much money is going to Brock Purdy next year, assuming everything goes according to plan. So how does this sort of last dance roster makeup, this sort of last push with this older core affect the locker room, team morale? There's a lot of, what do you call them? Mercenaries on this team. A lot of players who pretty much know they're not going to be here next year.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting because I heard you and Ryan talk about this a couple weeks ago, and in the moment I agreed with Ryan. Was like, wow, this is a good thing. You got a lot of players on 1-year deals. They're going to be hungry. That should make this team better. But the more that I sat back and thought about it, it actually just makes this team more selfish. Meaning, if you've got a bunch of guys on 1-year deals that are trying to get paid somewhere else or get a big deal with the 49ers in this final year, yeah, they're going to play their butts off, which sounds great on the surface. But what you're not going to get is the unselfish play where it's like, you know what? It's okay. I'm fine getting 100 targets when I should be getting 130, or I'm fine letting Debo go off this game and me kind of just playing background musician here. No, all of these guys will start making business decisions knowing that it's their final year. Oh, I'm a little bit banged up. You know what? I'm going to sit this one out. Oh, I'm not getting the ball. Yeah, I'm going to start asking for the ball. Those are the things that can also start happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not all good the way it seems like it could be on the surface. Like, oh, we got a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. They're going to play really hard, right? Well, yeah, but they might do it in a selfish manner, and that's not exactly what you want. So for this year in the champion, right? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So for this year, it may or may not play out in their favor. What I will say is long term, this is exactly what you want. You want the flexibility we talked about with Christian McCaffrey, so you can retool on the fly, rebuild on the fly, build around Brock Purdy and his strengths. So I like it long term. I don't know that I like it as much short term as I initially did when I heard the topic brought up between you and Ryan a couple weeks ago.
I like it. I like the fact that we're purging the team. Competition is what keeps culture strong. It keeps a coaching staff strong, in my opinion. When you have a bunch of 1-year guys, you can't be a lazy coach. You can't just put out processes that guys are used to now, because now what you have to be doing is you have to be making sure that you get everything out of your 1-year guys, that they have one foot out of the door because they're trying to either get paid or put on an audition for the rest of the league. And you got to get the young guys under them ready to go. So it puts everybody on edge. You really get to see what the team is made of when you have this much transition. And on top of it, this is something where I'm glad it's also happening, because it's our comeuppance for us kicking the can on so many deals that went bad in the past. So now that we have these guys, it's time for our guys to either shape up or ship out. It's time for us to figure out who our new core is. We can't rely on the same core for all of this time, because they're just going to get older. It's just the facts, right? And we need to start transitioning guys out and figuring out what we have. And one of the best ways to figure out what your core is that's going to be able to keep up with you is to be able to have it in-house, right? If you get a bought, not built core, what happens is that you always come up just short. We're not necessarily one of the most serious franchises in the league. The franchises that are in the league where you're your Chiefs, you're the Bills, you're the Ravens, is these guys have guys that they develop, guys that kick the guys out. They moved household names out because guys got ousted in. That's where Fred Warner came from. That's where Dre Greenlaw came from, right? These guys emerged and got rid of guys that we had to go buy to pace us through before our culture was able to get off of its infancy and move on with its own. Now we're in the transition period. I like the fact that we have these deals because, quite frankly, a lot of these guys need to move on anyway. We need to reshape the culture.
I agree with everything you said. It is completely a transition period, but I feel like it's kind of an awkward one in the sense it's like you have the oldest team in the league. You have all these guys in their 30s. You're running it back one more time, but they all have like one foot out the door. Because like you said, you're trying to transition to a younger core. And the younger core is Brock. Like who do you know for sure is going to be on this team in 2025? For sure. Brock.
That's true.
Bosa, Fred Warner. And then guys on rookie deals, but like not them. Like of the guys who are highly paid, who's for sure, like you can't even say that about Ayuk.
Yeah,
can't even say that about Jennings. So it's like you don't know what the younger core is, and I think there's kind of a weird feeling on this team. Like, is this it? Is this my last year here? I don't really know. And it's like if they start off 5-0 like last year, who cares? Everything's good. But if they lose week 1 to the Jets, this team may not be as tight and cohesive as it was last year, and we could see some stuff that we haven't seen from this locker room yet. Because again, how many of these people are certain they're going to be back next year? This could be their last stand.
Well, the Jets is going to be a very good litmus test, right? They're a team that feels as though they've been underplaying. Their coaches, they think way more of their coach than the rest of the league does. He's going to be coming home on a road game. This is the perfect game for them with Aaron Rodgers back to be able to prove that they are, in fact, the team that they built themselves to be. It was just the fact that they lost Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is coming back home to the West Coast to play in front of his people. They got a lot to play for. They have a lot to play for. So this is going to be a good game. I want to, in my opinion, just not to derail it, but just the Jets defense versus our offense is what I want to see. That's the game.
I would like to talk about this matchup in depth, but a little bit later in the show. So thank you for teasing it. But I think this matchup is really interesting. And most people around here have the Niners winning it, but I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I want to go ahead, Jesse. You have something to say.
Well, I want to bring this up as well. The optics of the 49ers, where they are this year versus where they were last year. And I know that you saw it because you retweeted it, but there was a secondary player for the Packers that basically came out and said, hey, we feel like we let the 49ers off the hook last year. And the reason that we have all of our players here at these non-mandatory OTAs is because we're on a mission this year. We believe we can win a Super Bowl, and that's what we're chasing. Watching that and listening to that it sounded and looked a lot like the 49ers last season. And it worked out really well for the 49ers. Yeah, they came up a little bit short, and that's frustrating. But all that work they'd put in really did get them to where they expected to be. The question is can you follow it up when you're coming off of a year where you made it so far again and fell short again? The Super Bowl hangover is real, and it starts with things like this. It's not just the one-year deals. It's not just guys looking for new deals that aren't there. It's also the health of the team. The team was relatively healthy last year, the healthiest it had been in the Shanahan era by a wide margin. This year, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. You've got Greenlaw, who's going to miss time. A lot of people didn't know, but George Kittle had a core surgery, much like Charvarius Ward. You've got Hufanga. Is he going to be the same? He already wasn't the best athlete and relied a lot on his instincts, and now he's coming off of a major injury. Is he going to look the same? The team is already starting out in a place, injury-wise, worse than what they were for a majority of last year. Can they hold up? That is also another big question.
Also, it's like a mental fatigue thing, too. They were talking about it. Kyle Shanahan said it the other day, like, it feels like we just finished football. And I think a lot of these players are like before they were done in early January or mid-January. Now they were done in mid-February. And I think a lot of these players aren't ready to come back. It's like, this still hurts. I'm still kind of sick to my stomach. I'm still kind of banged up. Like, I'll catch up with you guys. And that's, again, another part of the Super Bowl hangover, why it's so real. And it's just human nature. It's hard to avoid it.